preparing and sending outage notifications. By the time we're done here, we will create and send an outage notification for the VLAN implementation that we're about to do. But I decided to break this off into its own nugget because this video, this topic, could help just about any implementation that an engineer does, because most of the time we get so focused on the implementation that we're going to do and the steps that are needed that we don't even think about sending an outage communication to those that are impacted. So I wanted to give some tips first off for sending an outage communication and then write one together with you. Now, I'm talking right now about a pre-outage notification, meaning this is not the kind of communication that you would send during an outage. That's just a completely different mindset. This kind of communication, first off, comes in advance. And that's my first tip. Send an outage notification. Do it 1 week in advance. What I usually see with people that are first getting started in engineering is they'll be creating the plan for their implementation. They'll finish it up and they'll be like, oh, I could do this tonight. I'm kind of, in that mode. I'm excited. And so they send it for that evening. And that's bad form, probably for at least two reasons. One, we live in a 24/7 world. So you may be inconveniencing someone that needs to work late or needs to access resources that are at the office because you haven't given them enough notice. But two, and probably more important, you reinforce to the world that you are an unplanned individual. If you're sending it out for the same night or the next night, that's kind of like an urgent mindset, like now. That's just how I'm operating, and you're reinforcing that to the world because that's what most people think about IT. There is a time for an urgent notification, but for a planned implementation, 1 week is the time that you should choose. And 1 week is important too because we live in an always going world. If you send it 2 weeks or 4 weeks in advance, people will totally forget about it. Send this even if no impact is expected. And again, two reasons on that. Number one, we always expect there's no real impact to it, and oftentimes there is. But two, it validates to the world that you do something. When people don't understand a profession, they'll often make judgments about it. Oh, the IT guy, he always shows up late. What a slacker. Well, you showed up late because you were working late the night before. When you don't understand something, it's easy to throw rocks at it. Second tip for communication is to use non-tech speak to explain the impact and benefit of whatever you're doing to them, the people that you're communicating with. If you just throw a bunch of techno jargon out there like, hey, we're going to be implementing a new VLAN architecture that'll improve the subnets that we have to expand to a larger group of IP addresses, you and I understand that as we're talking, but the rest of the world is like, yeah, whatever. So even if what you're thinking about doing is a purely technical thing, it should always feed a business reason. It should always feed some benefit to the business. And if you're finding it doesn't, you might reconsider doing that implementation in the first place. Third tip, use a consistent tone throughout the email. Now notice I didn't tell you what tone to use because that's up to you and your personality and your company's culture. There's some companies that are dead serious all the time, and that's fine. A network upgrade can be dead serious. There's some cultures that have a bubbly and fun sort of expression, and that's fine too. What I see kind of on a global speak is I'm seeing a lot of the more formal communication kind of get smaller and smaller, and a lot more casual communication is coming up. I'll explain that more when I show you the email that I've written. The last thing, and this is a big one, be fun or witty, never sarcastic or belittling. I've met a lot of IT people that have a real dry sense of humor. And if you get to know them, it's really funny to hang out with them. And I've seen those same IT people write outage notifications where they're trying to be funny and make people laugh. And it comes across mildly offensive. I remember one where I saw somebody adding a redundant internet connection and they said something to the effect of, yeah, we're taking the network down because you people think it's important to stay online. And I'm serious. I mean, if you know the person, you kind of chuckle because you know that's kind of their personality and it's fun, but there's a lot of people that might not know that person so well. So be careful injecting too much personality in that. I thought this was a great example of an outage notification. Now this is a different one. This is they're actually down and they're trying to communicate in the middle, which is why a one-liner works just fine. It says, hi all, some Adobe services are down due to the AWS outage. Here's a puppy stampede to take your mind off of it. And it's a little animated GIF where all these puppies come charging at you. Now, I smile when I see that outage notification because I know there's a lot of people not smiling behind the scenes, running frantically, but from the outside world, they keep a fun front without any sarcastic or belittling comment. So here's the email that I've created for our VLAN upgrade. I'm going to walk through the key points. First off, notice no mention of VLAN upgrade at all. I'm sending this to the entire company and I'm saying, hey, we're upgrading our network space. That would be non-tech language. Read on. I'm not sure if you've noticed. Key point, I'm using contractions, not formal, casual conversation. Why? Because that's our company culture. And right up front, I'm presenting the whole reason in a non-technical way that we're doing this. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but we've grown, and so have our customers. As a result, we found that some of our original network designs are beginning to stretch. Now, I took a screen cap of this to emphasize that spelling correctly is important. But when keeping that casual conversation, doing stuff like this is okay. So stretch a little further than they should. Never fear. We've created Network Design V2, and I've got to tell you, I struggled a lot with that. Why? Because I'm a grammatical nut. In my life, I've written a bunch of technical books, some actually even for college curriculum, and I had things like passive voice and contractions and the right way to speak just beat into me. So technically, if you write any number below 10, you're supposed to spell it out. TWO. But when I wrote it that way, it just didn't look right. So I put V2 because I figured just about everybody can make that correlation. So V2, that can move us from supporting sites with a few thousand devices into tens of thousands of devices and the ability to expand even more if you need it. Now, obviously at Veeya, we don't quite need that space. However, we believe in dog fooding. Now, that's an internal word that we use that we will try everything and use everything before we roll it out to our customers. If it's not good enough for us, it's not good enough for them. And I say so right here. So we'll adopt this first. So what does this mean to you? Now, right here is where I get into this is the impact. The network will be down for a while. And even as I sit here and read that out loud to you, I think I need to emphasize the network at our office will be down for a while. A lot of people won't catch that. They might think Office 365 is down. The internet's down. So I do need to scope that in. While we implement phase 1 of this change from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. on Wednesday, 1/23. Couple notes. That's 1 week out. So I'm giving them 1 week notice. I'm emphasizing this is phase 1, so they're already prepared for the outage in phase 2. And I'm giving myself all night long, knowing that the implementation will probably take me 2 hours. 2 hours to get in place, network is back up, maybe another hour of QC to make sure it's all good. I scheduled all night, not only if something goes wrong, but based on my family life, I may end up showing up later. Maybe I get into a great conversation with my wife, and I end up leaving the house at midnight. This gives me the flexibility to do what I want with my evening, but still have enough time to implement this. Now, right below, I say the change should be transparent to you, as in you never notice, but please let us know right away if you notice anything unusual that prepares them for what they should expect the next day. Everything should be working. If it's not, wave a flag. Don't just assume that it's supposed to be that way. People need to be told that. I actually just went through a recent outage where we had a carrier down for maybe half an hour. So we texted one of our customers and said, hey, internet is down, we're investigating this. Well, we forgot to send a follow-up text. They were down all day. The carrier had come up after half an hour, but something with the router didn't correctly re-enable the connection. Regardless, they didn't report anything because they assumed it was just down and didn't think anything of it. So it's super important to let people know what they should expect. Then I add a little fun. We can now hire 1,000 more people on our upgraded network. Be sure to say hi. This is my example of that fun and witty humor. That's not sarcastic or belittling. Sarcasm, if you were to define it, usually has kind of a negative edge to it. It's humor that cuts. Saying it sarcastically might be like, this will make room for a lot more employees, so you better watch out. That seat you're sitting in is in high demand. It's saying the same thing. It will provide room for expansion, but in a way you just threaten them. Watch out, you may be fired and replaced by somebody new, is what you're saying, and that's not really funny. So most people will probably give you a courtesy chuckle, but they don't really feel good after hearing that. That being said, that's one example of writing outage notifications. At the end of it, find one that fits your personality. Write one yourself. And I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.